The third kind of ETF that I want you to consider investing your money in to grow and compound your wealth are emerging market ETFs. These are ETFs that invest in companies overseas and outside of the United States. That way now you can get exposure not just to different companies, but different countries around the world. That way now if the United States economy slows down, or if the United States dollar has issues, or something happens to the United States, you're not out of luck completely, because now you're investing in countries outside of the United States that have their own economies, their own governments, their own systems, and now you're getting exposure to something completely outside of the United States. Now again, this also has its own fair share of risks, because a lot of these countries, especially the emerging markets, might not have as much stability as the United States. But the whole idea here is you're investing in a growing country. So if this country can grow a whole lot bigger, their economy can grow a whole lot bigger, and you're invested in a strong company, well now this company can see a whole lot more upside because the whole country and the whole economy there is starting to grow. And yeah, the risk is that some of these emerging markets like China rely on the United States to spend a lot of money in that country. But if these countries continue to grow, now you're also getting exposure to different countries and different economies, which is something important for you to consider, because you have a lot of countries and a lot of economies outside the United States that are growing significantly faster than the United States economy, just because the United States economy is so large. It just can't grow as fast as it used to. And so these emerging market ETFs give you exposure to that. Now, before I go into the specific emerging market ETFs, one thing that I do want to mention is that no matter which ETFs that you're investing in, the key for any ETF strategy to work is you have to keep consistently investing your money in ETFs, and you want to do this automatically. This way every week or every month, money is automatically leaving your account and going into these ETFs. And this is something that you want to keep doing whether the market is up or down. The key for this to work is you have to be consistent. You don't want to just put your money in once and just forget about it. You want to keep putting your money in and letting your shares in this ETF grow, because now you're just getting exposure to the different markets, the different stocks, the different companies, and you're just going to keep acquiring shares and let the companies do their thing. And I forgot to mention this just a second ago, but the last key to really make this passive investing strategy work is you have to give it time. The key for this to work is you have to invest your money consistently, passively, and let your money grow and compound, which means you're just going to let your money sit there and continue growing and building on top of it, because your investments need time to appreciate. So a few different emerging market ETFs that you may want to consider looking at are VWO. This is a Vanguard emerging market ETF. EEM, this is an iShares emerging market ETF, and SCHE, this is a Schwab emerging market ETF. Now again, disclaimer, I have my own money invested in VWO and SCHE. So now let's dissect and analyze these three ETFs. The first thing is who made it. We have Vanguard, we have iShares, and we have Schwab. All of them are, again, very reputable and very credible companies that made these ETFs. So let's go a little bit deeper and see the assets under management. Starting with VWO, it says that the fund total net assets are $110 billion. Moving on to SCHE, the Schwab ETF, it says that the total net assets are $9 billion. And then the iShares EEM Emerging Market Fund says that the net assets are $28 billion. So again, each one of them passed this test. It's a credible company and they have a large number of assets under management, each one in the multiple billions. The second question, which is even more important here, is what do they invest in? Now, not only are you looking at the companies, but also what kind of company and which countries are these ETFs investing in. See, it's one thing to be investing into a small cap company in the United States. You know that the United States economy is stable, so when you're investing in a small cap company in the United States, it has its own fair share of risk. You're just hoping that this company, which is small, will be able to grow in the stable economy. But now when you look at these emerging markets, now these economies and governments aren't always as stable as the United States, depending on which country that you're investing in. And so a small cap company in an emerging market might have a much harder time growing, or it'll have the possibility to grow significantly larger depending on which country it's in. So this is where you have to be a little bit more picky and know really what your risk tolerance is, because a small cap company in an emerging market is riskier than an investment in a small cap company in the United States, just because of the stability of the economy. This is where you have to know your risk tolerance, and you got to know why you're investing your money. Are you looking to invest your money into emerging markets just to get some diversification in your portfolio, or are you looking at investing in emerging markets that way you can see a whole bunch of potential upside by investing in these growth companies in emerging markets, which could try to take over and become a leader leading company worldwide starting an emerging market. So let me start by analyzing VWO, the Vanguard Emerging Market Fund. If you scroll down onto the Vanguard page, you'll see the portfolio composition and you'll see that 99.5% of this ETF is investing in emerging markets, 0.4% is in Europe, and 0.1% is other. And you can look at some of the largest holdings. The number one holding is the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, number two is Tencent, number three is Alibaba, and on and on and on. But you also want to take a look at the countries that it's invested in. So if you come back up and click on the portfolio and management tab, and then you scroll down, you'll see the market allocation of the top countries that it invests in. So the top 5 countries that this ETF invests in are China, followed by Taiwan, followed by India, Brazil, and South Africa. Now I want to remind you that with these type of emerging market ETFs, your risks are different than with just investing your money in a US company. And so now you can see bigger swings in these ETFs and in these companies than you would typically see in a US company. VWO has investments in over 5,000 companies, and you can compare that to EEM, which has investments to about 800 or so companies. And these are companies which are large or mid-cap companies in emerging markets. So if we come down to the holdings section in this ETF, you're going to see that its top holdings are actually similar to the Vanguard fund. The number one in this is the Taiwan Semiconductor Company, then you have Tencent, then you have Samsung, then you have Alibaba. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see the exposure breakdowns, and then if you click the geography tab, you'll see the top countries that this ETF invests in. So the top countries for this ETF are number one China, then Taiwan, then South Korea, then India, then Brazil. So you can start to see why this question is so important here, because yeah, they do have some similar companies that they invest in, and some similar countries, but they do have different countries, meaning different companies that they also invest in. And this brings us here to the Schwab ETF. So similarly, the Schwab ETF is investing in large and mid-cap companies in emerging markets. It's investing in about 20 or so countries overseas, and we can take a look at some of its top holdings. Under the portfolio tab, you can see the top holdings, which are for here, the Taiwan Semiconductor Company, you have Tencent again, Alibaba again, and then you have companies like Meituan, I think that's how you say it, and Reliance. And then scrolling down to the countries, you'll see that the top countries that this ETF invests in are China, Taiwan, India, Brazil, and South Africa. And now that you know where these ETFs are making their investments, you got to understand the fees. That way you know that you're not overpaying in fees to invest in some countries or companies. So starting with the Vanguard VWO ETF, the expense ratio is 0.1%. Then the iShares EEM ETF, the expense ratio is 0.7%. And then you have the Schwab SCHE ETF, which has an expense ratio of 0.11%. So comparatively, this and this ETF have significantly lower expense ratios than this ETF. So you just got to do your research and see if this expense ratio is worth it for you if you want to invest in emerging markets. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.